pretty major change in policy of two of Britain's biggest police forces when it comes to the behaviour of some people, quite a lot of people, in fact, on the pro-Palestine marches that are still ongoing, despite the war in Gaza having been brought to a halt, at least for now. For over 2 years, police forces in this country have been insisting that they are doing all they can to crack down on criminal behaviour as and when it does occur on those demonstrations. And yet today they seem to have admitted implicitly that actually that's not true and they haven't been doing all that they can. In a joint statement this morning, Commissioners of the Metropolitan Police and Greater Manchester Police announced that they are toughening up their approach. Toughening up the approach that they've said all along was effectively as tough as it could be. And it's a really significant change that they are making. Let me read you a little bit of this statement from Sir Mark Rowley and Sir Stephen Watson. They say this. They say the words and chants used in protest matter and have real-world consequences. We have consistently been advised by the Crown Prosecution Service that many of the phrases causing fear in Jewish communities don't meet prosecution thresholds. Now, in the escalating threat context, we will recalibrate to be more assertive. Let's talk to Sam first in Harrow this evening. Sam.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right, Sam.
Thanks for taking my call.
Pleasure.
Lovely. I'm just listening to you on the radio and before you, Ian, and I'm really, really, really frustrated, to say the least. I've just left the protest where 3 people were arrested. One of them is a disabled lady. And we were standing side by side by 2 Jewish groups. A group of survivors of Holocaust, sons or daughters of survivors of Holocaust, and the IJAN, which is the International Jewish Anti-Zionist, side by side, and we were chanting, and they chanted this. The police came to us and
Sorry, Sam, they chanted, yes, Globalise the intifada.
They chanted intifada, yes.
Right.
So intifada, I know you're going to dispute the translation of it and what it is mean and stuff like that. It literally means shake up. It means uprise.
It means uprise, yes.
Yes, and it's been used even in, as far as I can recall, even in the Holocaust Museum, they refer to the Oslo Uprising as Oslo Intifada as well. So it's a phrase, and it's been used since 1987, since the Palestinian people decided to do the uprising against the occupation. Even the police today, when they came and informed us, the police lady who said to me, she couldn't pronounce the words. You're using something. They are trying to criminalize, trying to stop us, raising our voice for the injustice that is taking place, for the genocide, the ongoing genocide that still exists.
Sam, they're not, because you can chant almost anything else within the law. There's all sorts of things you can chant, raising objections to what Israel is doing, raising, voicing your support for the Palestinian people. Why is the phrase? Why can't you protest powerfully and vocally without chanting "Globalise the Intifada"?
Okay, because the word intifada, as you. Not you, I think it was Ian who read the Google translation to it, but actually rather than reading the translation, reading what Google
But it's not about what it literally means.
So,
I don't think is important as what it's widely seen to mean. And if other people, and many of them do interpret it differently to you, and they do interpret it as an incitement to violence, then what it literally means is less important than what it's come to mean, isn't it?
So here we're talking about how other people interpret this.
How it's widely interpreted, yes.
How a small group of people, interpret this.
It's not a small group of people. No. It's widely interpreted as meaning a call to violence.
That's widely disputed because we are not calling for violence.
All right, but even
we are calling for a shake of the system that ongoing, even now, like we were today, we were actually standing protesting against our own government, yes, who are allowing 8 young people in prison on hunger strike. Okay. They're allowing them to die.
So will you carry on chanting it, Sam? Will you carry on chanting for the intifada to be globalised?
You're taking something part of my heritage.
Who
part of my intifada.
So you believe that the right to chant for an intifada, to be globalized, is part of your cultural heritage?
For me, an intifada is an uprising against injustice, against the occupation.
A peaceful uprising?
A
peaceful uprising.
Well, any means necessary.
So you accept that you are calling for a violent uprising.
This is what the United Nations
but Sam,
definition.
You just spent 5 minutes telling me it's not a call to incitement to violence, and when I say, are you calling for an uprising that might be violent, you say any means necessary. So you've just accepted it is a call to violence, haven't you?
Let me clarify what I meant by that, because previously you and your guests were referring to the attacks that took place in Sydney and in Manchester. Okay, this is nothing to deal with what we're doing.
What about the 7th of October?
And we will say, okay, if you're going to go to the 7th of October, we're going to go to the whole history. We're going to
I just want to ask you specifically about that.
To the 9th of October, to the 11th of October, to the 12th of October.
No, just specifically on the 7th of October attack. Was that part of the sort of intifada that you think people should be free to chant in favour of?
More than 500,000 people have been slaughtered in Gaza, and you're still referring to the October.
Is the 7th of October part of the legitimate intifada, the legitimate uprising against oppression?
No, it's not an intifada. It's a resistance.
So what's the difference?
It's a big difference. Resistance, by all means necessary.
Yes, including slaughtering civilians in their homes. Including terrorism.
To the United Nations.
Including terrorism.
That any occupied people have the right to resist the occupation.
And you think resistance includes going to people's homes and murdering whole families?
Issue. The ICC, the international...
All right, Sam, we'll leave that there, because if that is what you're saying, that is sympathising with prescribed terror groups, so we have to leave that there. Thank you very much, Steve, for coming on. So I think we're on the same page, aren't we, ultimately? Sam says it's not a call to violence, then ends up saying any means necessary to quote-unquote resist is legitimate. And when you dig a little bit behind those who say globalise the intifada isn't a call to violence, you do find some fairly troubling attitudes towards violent attacks on civilians in the name of self-defence. In Watford about it all. Evening, Katie.
Hi, evening. Thank you. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, really, which is it's always been illegal. While intifada may mean an Arabic uprising or shaking off, the context of that in relation to Israel and Palestine is it is a violent opposition. You just have to look at the dictionary definition of intifada, and it is the violent act of opposition by Palestinians against Israeli alleged occupation. It specifically talks about violence and armed resistance. The intifada in the 80s, 90s and early 2000s were stabbings, bombings, suicide shootings, that kind of thing. So I think it's disingenuous to say that means anything other than what it is. And at those protests, there are inverted red triangles, there are chants and gestures at Jews. So I think absolutely they have got it correct now. I don't think it's that the law has suddenly changed. The law, public order legislation already prohibits stirring up racial hatred. It already prohibits saying or doing threatening things that would make other people feel alarm and distress. They just haven't actioned it before.
So, Katie, what does it say about the policing of these protests up until now by some of our biggest police forces, the Met, GMP and so on, if they have been allowing people week after week, month after month, to get away completely scot-free with saying things that they now seem to accept incites violence against Jews?
I think, sadly, and having attended some of those protests myself, sadly, the police are either clueless to what some of these things mean, that's generous, or they really simply want to just an easy life, keep order on that day, and they don't actually look at what's going on. I mean, they may have some peaceful people at previous protests, but certainly ones I've seen are not peaceful. There are some really quite horrific chants and gestures that are going on there, and I think the police have really taken their eyes off the ball for this one. Hopefully now they will take action. It's not the only chant that's mentioned. There is only one solution, intifada revolution. That obviously has connotations about the final solution with Nazi references. There are chants in Arabic which talk about the armies of Muhammad will come and return to Khyber Khyber, which was a massacre in Saudi Arabia. And on that point, one of your previous callers talked about anti-Semitism being only a European issue.
Ludicrous.
Clearly that's
Absolutely
not utterly ludicrous.
15 people just been shot dead in Australia, and he wants to come on and say it's a European problem. Was it a European problem in Pittsburgh? Was it a European problem across the Middle East when Jews were deported from the countries they lived in for centuries?
Exactly. So I think, or indeed in mandatory Palestine, there were murders and rapes and etc. Yep. So I think it's disingenuous to say that it means anything other than that. And they are still free to. No one's suggesting they can't protest and they can't say things. In Israel, it's a democratic country, right? Thousands upon thousands protest, weekly against Bibi Netanyahu. It's different. You can say anything, but you can't say, I want to kill you.
Yes. And if it's interpreted as a call to violence, even if you don't mean it that way, say something else. Or deal with the consequences, the legal consequences. It's that simple, isn't it?
Just listened to the police commissioner talking there about the context changing. The context hasn't changed. What's changed is 15 Australians have been murdered. Yep. And I think this is, for me, the key thing here is it is a complete and utter lack of leadership, political leadership and leadership in the policing system, where they have to wait for something serious to happen before action is taken, when it was obvious to me, and I think to most right-thinking people, that these calls for intifada, for the jihad and all of this Islamic murdering nonsense, and you can tell me that 99% of Muslims aren't violent. I know, I've heard it all before. But the bottom line...
Hold on, sir. It's true.
Kill people. Yeah, maybe it's true, but it doesn't stop the 1% killing me. And that's the point we need to worry about. And these people are emboldened by a lack of action in democratic societies because we're fearful of offending people and their religion, and I'm fed up with it, just like most people are bloody fed up with it. And as far as I'm concerned, this lack of leadership in policing and in politics has gone on for too long.
How do British police forces, namely in London and in Manchester, how do they look now that they've taken their action? But as you rightly interpret, this is because they're in the process of burying 15 people in Australia.
They look weak. They look leaderless, they look pathetic, they look utterly beholden to some kind of woke desire to stop offending people. When did anybody have the right not to be offended? I don't care about being offended. You can offend me all you like. It's up to me how I deal with my feelings. And I'm fed up with not offending other people because we might worry about how they feel about their damn religion. I don't care. And frankly, right now, I think we've got to the point where the majority of people in this country feel the same as I do. And I believe a reckoning is coming. When it comes to the election in May, you will see a huge, huge change of direction in this country. And people will criticise it, we're going right. I don't care. What we're doing is I think we're going to a place of safety where we need to do something to stop this madness.
My thoughts are a bit like words mean what the people speaking them mean, not what the people think they could mean. There's no evidence that the phrase "globalise the intifada" is actually linked to any of these anti-Semitic acts of violence. There's just people saying there's just people saying that this is what it means. There's no actual evidence.
Well, I'll come back to it, but let me just read you the definition from the Cambridge Dictionary. Intifada, a violent act of opposition by the Palestinian people to the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip.
So that's the definition of specific wars and acts of violence. The actual phrase itself,
no, the word
intifada. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
But that is in relation to specific events. But the actual phrase itself, by anyone who actually says the phrase, globalise the intifada, none of them are calling for violence. There's no evidence that people saying that are calling for violence.
How on earth can you say that? You don't know what's in the minds of everyone who's chanting globalise the intifada, do you?
Well, because they don't commit violence. 99% of the people chanting it are completely peaceful.
Well, just because you don't necessarily commit the act yourself. I mean, when those ghastly musicians were chanting death to the IDF, I doubt that they were willing to shoot the bullet themselves, but that's what they were calling for, David.
No, but that's just a rhyming slang for saying, stop the IDF. Really, but that's a difference.
No, it's saying that they need to be killed. It's not a rhyming slang. It's suggesting that their lives are taken.
Can I put an example for you?
Please.
If I fully wholeheartedly believed that any time anyone told me to shut up, it meant that they actually wanted to shoot me in the head, you would rightly call me an idiot and ask why I believed that. So my question would be where is the belief that globalise the intifada means...
Well, we're not... Please don't go. I'm not getting through to you. Let's try my next caller who, incidentally, or coincidentally, is joining us from Israel. Malcolm, would you talk to David? What do you hear when you... what do you think when you hear the words globalise the intifada? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick, and good morning, David. Well, here, especially as a British Jew now living here, also in the news business, intifada means exactly that. And it doesn't just mean the Jews, it means anyone that is not of Muslim persuasion. So it might be that us Jews first, but then it moves on. But intifada certainly means death to whoever and generally it means death to non-Muslims.
David?
There's absolutely no evidence for that. I'm sorry, but I know that might be what you feel, but
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. You don't need me to read you the definition again from the Cambridge English Dictionary, which is also in the Merriam-Webster US English Dictionary. So there are two dictionaries, and I never even looked that hard. They've both got violence in them. David?
In the real world, there's absolutely no evidence for it being linked to violence.
Let Malcolm try. Malcolm?
Okay, well, David, I'll just let you into something that I found out recently. In August, I came back to London, and a good friend of mine who's a rabbi and was knighted by the Queen for his charities, he's now an MBE, has now had to close his synagogue in my old area. He's been told that all the charities he was involved with has banned him, and they've been told, and this is by the Muslim councillors direct to him, that he is not welcome anymore. Right. Answer me that, David.
What's that got to do with the phrase globalise the intifada?
Quite easily, because they're hearing it, and quite often when people are chanting this, they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't know what river to the sea is. They're ignorant. And you see
that's my point. You're just going by what you feel it means. You're not going by what people speaking it actually want.
David, when you know what the events that took place on Bondi Beach on the weekend, and you saw that there were homemade ISIS flags in the motor vehicles, does that not speak to you of globalise the intifada?
No, because that speaks to me of ISIS terrorism, who, are just a nasty terrorist group on their own. And
the deaths at the Manchester Synagogue and the beach at Bondi in Sydney, again, you don't see anything...
There's no evidence that the phrase globalise the intifada is linked
that, and
to
respectfully, I have read you dictionary definitions. I don't think you can keep saying there's no proof of it, because I've just read you from the dictionary, David.
I'm sorry, but in the terms of what people are saying, in the context that they're saying it, there is
lastly, then, you think everybody who chants globalise the intifada has nothing but peace and love in their heart?
I'm sure not. I'm sure not everybody. Just because there's evil people in every segment of population.
Right. Okay. I thought initially you said that. David, thank you. Malcolm, thank you.